Ken is hoping that you can talk about your influence for Steris and how you went about doing research necessary for her character in regards to her being on the spectrum and basically what that process was like.
So Steris started with me in part realizing that I had done a very Hollywood version of autism in Elantris. Because, you know, I just wasn't as good at research and looking to primary sources back then. And so for a long time that stuck in my head and started to just kind of itch at me, and I said, I want to do a better version of this. But that was only part. Like, one of the things when I'm building a character, one of my kind of go-to things is try to make sure that a given character is not solely defined by one thing, particularly not, you know, the way that they see the world. Either, you know, they're things like autism, right? Like, I work very hard to make it so that Kaladin is not defined by his depression. Kaladin is a protagonist who has depression. Depression is not Kaladin's main challenge, right? Kaladin is dealing with survivor's guilt and his desire to protect people against how great he is at killing people, right? Like, this is the main core conflict in Kaladin is, I'm really good at killing people. I was trained to be a surgeon and I actually was really good at that. Is there a middle ground? And that is the core crux of who Kaladin is. Likewise with Steris, I didn't want it to be, here is a person with autism. Let's talk about autism. It was, here is a character, and as I wrote and worked with her, it felt right, if that makes sense. I remember one of the things that really inspired me for Steris is actually Karen Alstrom, who is my continuity editor. And we should have Karen on sometime to answer questions. But Karen once was at a writing group talking about how she loves characters who are like her, who always are ready. That have, you know, the person who saves that scrap. Like, people call them hoarders. And in her head, she's like, no, no, no. A hoarder is someone who doesn't know what they have or why they have it. I have this thing that I have saved because I know I'm going to need it someday. And someone's going to say, man, I wish I had a cape for a 7-year-old that would go with this costume. And Karen is the person that says, I've got one of those. Here, let me get it for you. Karen just loves being prepared to help people. And I thought, that is a brilliant and amazing character attribute to give to a character. The kind of Boy Scout be prepared, but more in a, I am ready to help. I do the research, I find out what people need, and I am ready there with it. Maybe a little too much. And that really melded together with how I was seeing her personality. She is based partially on a friend of mine who when I first met this friend, I'm not sure if I've said the name or not, so I'll just, it was very off-putting at first, getting to know them. What we took for being stuck up was really just them being a little socially awkward, like most of us in this community are. But the way a lot of us express it is through being kind of goofy. And this person expressed it through being a little bit aloof, which when we got to know this person, we're like, wow, this is one of the most amazing people we've ever known. But very hard to get to know them because mostly of us, right? Our own prejudices against people who are a little more quiet and things like that. And so I put that into Steris. And then how do I do research? I go to primary sources. You've heard me say this before, but basically I go read blogs. I go watch videos. I watch interviews. I listen to as much I can people talking about the way they see the world, the way they feel the world misunderstands them, and the way they would like to be perceived. And that is just my go-to. I am fortunate in that I do know several people on the autism spectrum, and I wouldn't say I understand what it is to live with autism, but I have a much better understanding than I did in 1998 when I wrote Elantris. And these were all things that were mixing together. And when Steris, I started writing her, I'm like, this character just works. And it wasn't any one of those pieces that made her work, it was all of them together.